Thank you, everyone. Moving ahead, let's have another insightful keynote address on international financing by Mr. Thomas Scaria, Non-Executive Director, Joyalukkas, shedding light on crucial financial aspect in our industry. Can we have Mr. Thomas Scaria ji on stage, please?
नीलेश भाई आप फूल हटवा दो यार
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here. Thank you, GJC, for inviting me. Thank you, Chairman Saim Mehra. What a wonderful panel. You know, one thing I like about Dubai jewelry industry leaders is that they have created a brand for themselves. They have a business to manage. They have a huge responsibility, and in spite of that, they really take time to come and share their experience here. I always look up to Chandu Bhai and Tawhid Bhai for the wonderful speeches. And while I'm coming into the hall, I was listening to your speech, and it requires really good courage to stand on a stage like this and talk, and really amazing conversation. A big round of applause for Tawhid Bhai. So I am representing a brand called Joyalukkas. The brand journey started in India in 1956 from a small little town called Thrissur, Kerala, India. The brand's UAE journey started when our chairman, Mr. Joy, came to this wonderful place in the year 1988 and started his first outlet in Abu Dhabi. And during those times, moving away from your home city was not the norm. People were confined to their cash counters. Jewelry business was very much in mom and pop store kind of a model. But during the last 35 years, our chairman, Mr. Joy, he has paved the way for structurally changing the way Indian jewelry business is conducted all over the world. Large format store, bigger stores, corporatizing offices, lot more initiative. And in fact, he is credited with modernizing Indian jewelry business in the international space. Recently, HarperCollins has released his autobiography titled Spreading Joy. Can I have the slides here? It's an international bestseller. It's available in Amazon. It is a must-read for anyone who is starting their journey, whether it is jewelry or any other business. So I am, as the introducer introduced me before, I am the CFO and the board director of Joyalukkas International Operation and board member in India. I have had the opportunity of working with few financing projects, especially in private equity, syndication, and IPO deals. Here, for the interest of everyone, I will be sharing one such incident where we got into a very creative and innovative solution of structuring business loans for the company. So when it comes to lending, two-way of approach, there is a name lending and there is a balance sheet lending. Name lending, as the name suggests itself, the bankers rely on the name of the company, the brand reputation, the credibility, and the contact of the account you created for the last so many years. And there is another piece of the lending is balance sheet lending, which is primarily driven by the strength of your balance sheet. So the kind of collateral you offer, the kind of leverage you have on your balance sheet. But there is a lot of intermingling factors playing in between, like the kind of auditors you engage. Normally, we think about auditing like a legal requirement, and we go for the least cost auditors. But having a reputed auditor brings a lot of value to the table. It gives a lot of credibility to the numbers, and engaging professional team, paying them really well, retaining them in the company also adds value to your negotiation skills with the bankers, and proactively communicating with your bank. Whether bankers are asking you some information or you're waiting for the bank to knock on your door and ask for some update, be proactive. Approach the bank in advance and tell what is happening in the industry, what is happening in your company, and they will be really happy to take or invest more in your company. So when we were faced a requirement of a large sum of money in the year 2012-13, when we were planning to expand in other markets like Singapore, Malaysia, US and all, we required a large amount of fund. And looking at our balance sheet strength, it's really viable. Our brand name is really good. We have established a very good track record. But being in the market, especially in the Middle East, you don't own any collateral assets. Like in India, in Indian model, we have land and building or machineries, or we have a lot of real estate property to pledge as a collateral. But in the Middle East market environment, there is no one owns a real estate property here. Most of the retail outlets are on a rental basis. So you really lack a real collateral to pledge for a long-term funding. And bankers are mostly working on a short-term financing, like yearly renewable finance. And when you go for an expansion like overseas market, committing a lot of money for a long period of time, you can't fund from a short-term funding to a long-term projects. So we really sat down and discussed the idea, and during those days, like credit card money was coming, the amount was growing, the throughput for credit card collection was growing in the bank. And we really thought of coming up with a unique idea of pledging the collection account to a bank and offering it as a security to the lenders. Now credit card collection is almost 40–50%. During those days, it was initial period and people were exploring the possibility. But we were really good enough to convince the bankers, agree on a security structure, and the banks really came forward and funded 500 million dirhams for the funding expansion of our stores in the Singapore, Malaysia, UK and all. And this is the significant moment. And this funding structure got the award in the Hong Kong Middle East Asian Bankers Award, Best Innovative Funding Structure Solution. So I would say innovation and creativity is not only limited in your brand designing, your product designing, your marketing. You can be innovative and creative in structuring funding solutions like this also. So linking this topic to India, since I see a lot of young entrepreneurs from India, the growth story of Indian economy, the growth of debt and capital market in India, there is a policy and government continuation which is going to witness in the next few weeks. Growth of organized jewelry retailers in India, the identity of brand being a formidable force in India, and the demographic dividends like young, talented people, ambitious people working or thinking forward to create their own space in the business environment is creating a very transformative environment for India as a whole. The numbers speaks for themselves. It's like a growing demand in Indian gems and jewelry export in 2022-23. And again, India ranked the first among the top exports in cut and polished diamond, and second in gold jewelry and silver jewelry export, and especially lab-grown diamond. There is a rising investment in backward integration of manufacturing facilities in India by the retailers. The total foreign direct investment inflows in gems and jewelry itself is like 58 billion in the last year. There is a huge policy support from the government. Government has permitted 100% FDI and reduced customs duty on cut and polished diamonds. So there is a paradigm shift happening in Indian jewelry space, because of the disposable income of the top 5–10% of the population is increasing. That is giving rise to affordability of luxury product, new themes like lab-grown diamond. It increases affordability and reach to the customers. Even if you consider a scenario of 20% of increase in the acceptance of lab-grown diamonds, that is going to create a humongous market for India. And Indian market size in jewelry terms, it's growing in trillions. There is a growing format of omni-channel, online players coming into experience-driven stores, brick and mortar stores are going back to the online jewelry format. So there is a need for an there is a need for a growth capital which is all-time high. And in India, as like you all know, there is a debt and equity structure. Debt is like a borrowing from the bank or an NCD or an ECB. But there is quite a lot of interest in the equity structure, especially private equity or an IPO. What a private equity space would do, you all know. There is an angel investor format, there is a venture capitalist, there is a hedge fund. But in the interest of time, I would like to talk more on the listing space Indian jewelry has currently. So if you look at the listed company space, it used to be only one player, and there used to be a lot of bad apple in the sector, and that all got cleansed. And today, there are sizable good number of companies in India which is under listed space, and there is a lot of companies planning to or preparing themselves for an IPO in the near future. So if you consider about taking your company into an IPO, there are a few key considerations you should have it in your mind. Now you're operating maybe a family business or a private limited company. In terms of reporting requirement, it's going to increase tenfold. The mindset and philosophy of taking a company to a public is completely different. Now you must be owning your company as a 100% owner. You are the only decision maker, but when you onboard a public money into your company, you should have the mindset of inviting people into your company as a partner for business, not just the money they are investing in the company. And in stock market, there is a huge asymmetric payoff. In the sense, if you do good things in your company, the market will reward you very slowly. If you do something bad, the market will punish you severely immediately. And there is a whole lot of corporate governance and disclosure requirement. And if you have been operating as a family business and suddenly you change it to an IPO company, you may feel a difficulty, a flexibility in terms of the way you operate the company. But having said that, if someone wants to take their company to IPO, the thinking should start 5 years in advance, because there is a 3 years disclosure requirement. The IPO readiness has to be done. You must be operating a company with an old structure where your personal assets and your other related party companies' assets are commingled in the company. So you need to define your IPO perimeter. Sometimes most of the personal property or personal assets of the entrepreneur is also included in the company. And those kind of assets do not give any value in the IPO, because IPO is all about the kind of profit you make, not on the size of your balance sheet. So there is a lot of cleaning and structuring is required. And last but not the least, you should have a management team, a good track record, because you will be disclosing last 5 years transaction, last 5 years numbers to a very detailed disclosure requirement. So even if someone is thinking about an IPO in 2030, this is the time to start thinking on working on your structure, readjusting your numbers. This is the kind of a mindset you should have. And there is a lot of opportunity waiting in India, especially the way stock market is growing, private equity space is growing. Any small or large, irrespective of your size, you're able to draw money from the market. There is quite a lot of interest in the SME segment, in the SME IPO. So even if your company is like a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old having a turnover of 500 crores, you're good to go for an IPO. So think about it. And this is the way, if you happen to notice, there is a lot of wealth unlocking is happening in India. There is a lot of wealth transfer is happening. Second generation, third generation businesses or owners are not very emotionally attached to the brand. They are okay to bring in an outside investor. They are okay to bring in outside money. They are okay to pay taxes. They are okay to disclose more details about the company. And they feel that by disclosing, by welcoming growth capital, they are actually growing. They are not confining themselves. So my message is, explore the opportunity, talk to merchant banker, talk to advisors, and the opportunity is many. Thank you.